Hello and welcome to this buildingSMART room session as part of the buildingSMART International Standards Summit, Rome 2023. Thank you for joining. My name is Laura and I will be your moderator today. Today's session is called IFC to become a mandatory building permit document in Finland. Our speakers are on the screen. So we've got Aarno, Alanko and Tomi Henttinen. This session is scheduled to last an hour and a half. The session is being recorded and will be made available in the replay session of the event as soon as possible. Before I hand over to our speakers, I would like to remind you that this is an hybrid event, and for online attendees, your microphone will remain muted for the duration of this session. If you wish to ask a question, please use the chat box in the control panel. For those in the room, please try to keep the background noise to the minimum and raise your hand if you wish to make a comment or ask a question. I would like to bring to your attention that buildingSMART is committed to ensuring that participation in the development and standard is unrestricted and the process for their adoption is transparent, and standards that are developed do not favor any particular provider and are open and non-binding and accessible to all. Please take note of our antitrust code of conduct. Now I would like to hand over to Aarno.
So good morning from my part too. Can you hear me? Okay, good. So I'm Aarno Alanko and I'm representing building control of City of Helsinki. And from my background, I'm architect and been working with BIM for several years before moving to municipality. And I'm going to tell you about our subject in building controls point of view, and then Tomi will leap deeper into details and describe it more detailed. So,
and if you have any questions, please just raise your hand. And the intention of this session is to kind of provide you information. So if you have any questions, then please ask.
Yeah. So I'm gonna tell you about this Rava 3 Pro project. We are running with 23 municipalities in total, and I'm also chair of board of our project and working as head of permit unit in Helsinki Building Control. So there are our 23 municipalities and also our partners. There's a Ministry of Environment involved with new laws to come in force in 24 and 25, and our finance, Ministry of Finance in Finland, and also Association of Finnish Municipalities, who has gathered in the group. And other partners are National Research Center, VTT, who is also involved in Accord project, which is also running parallelly and continuing our work. And then there's Syke, who will be in charge of the system of the database we are creating by the law of RUTJ, which I will come to later on. And then there's National Archive, who actually accepted last autumn IFC as a national archiving form. And then latest partner is Senaatti, who is national property owner, owns all the state's buildings. And then how we have got into this point, it started late 2000 when we started to go into digital form, which we have now in use. So everything is done in PDF and on the electronic web-based service system. So that was started in 2015, and in Helsinki we moved totally to paperless system in June 2017. And then at the same time, Rava 1 project was started. So it was started by cities of Järvenpää and Vantaa, and we from Helsinki were also following the progress and got into it. And at the same time, we started already educating our professionals to BIM-based thinking, so to say. And in 2018, digital permitting covers 90% of municipalities, so it's in almost every municipality nowadays. And there was a first IFC-based permit experiments starting from 2018, and we went into it also piloting some projects in 2019 in Helsinki. And then 2020 standardization and harmonization started also. And there's the COBIM 2020 part 14 was also starting in 2020. And that was the first point when BIM-based building permit system was taking under examination. And 2022 IFC 4 format was approved by the National Archive in Finland, like I told already before, and 2022 we started really going into this Rava 3 Pro project, and the education has been continuing for the building controls all these years. So now we have educated, I think, 3 courses of BIM coordinators in all the municipalities. So we are broadening also our knowledge, and it's supporting also this Rava 3 Pro project. And then we've been into several issues within the project, and our objective is, of course, having an automated system so that when the customer gives us the plans, we don't have to go into it like the model ourselves, but it would be automated. And yeah, 2024, the National Building Information Register law will have force, and we already know that the system will not be ready in full scale in 2024, but it makes it possible to test it and keep on developing it further on. And also the new building law comes into force in 2025, and we are counting on that we can get the project in a scale or ready for the when the law comes to force. And then BIM designed stored National Building Information System archive will take force in 2027 in full scale. So everything has to be archived in BIM or machine readable form. So if I tell you a little bit of our stages in building controlling process. So here's the basic concept. We have the zoning, and then after that comes the building permit phase, construction, use and maintenance phase, and then of course development and maybe renovation. And what do we do in building control? Of course, it's customer service and guiding in issues, different issues, and handling building permits applications, including also the city space and illumination advertisements all around the city. And then our work is proportional control and checking. We don't go into the plans. We just do like the most important point checks on plans and then on construction phase on the site. And these issues are like safety, fire, structures, fall prevention, etc., and health-related issues, natural in rooms and accessibility, ventilation, etc. And of course, CO2 is becoming important issue. So these are views from our main permit systems. So everything is filled in digitally, and you can actually already give in a IFC model, and we can like manually go into it and check different issues. And the things that clients fill up are the essential basic information like estate ownership and legal information concerned to the application. And little bit more detailed, these stages of customer contacts in e-platform are query for guiding and information. So basically we want every question to be put into the system, so we can, it's like transparent how we have been handling the applications or questions, and we can always come back to it, and it will keep archive of for like different stages of plans, sketches, and more detailed plans, and so on. And handling officer will answer the questions and probably ask for more information. And this guiding or questioning can be path for applying the building permit. And then you can go in and put in the plans, and project is based, and it's in the sketch status when officials can't see it. And the next level is if the customer wants us to see the plans, so he can put it visible to officials without leaving the application yet. So he can ask questions, and we can go into it without going too deep into it, as it is in sketch level still. And then the final stage is applying the building permission, and that's when like our official work starts. Then we go like deeper into the plans and do the point checking and check all the crucial information. For example, registry data, that everything is like it should be. Today it's done quite a lot manually, but this is also a thing we want to automate. And yeah, then system-wise in Helsinki, we have 3 operating systems. The first is this cloud permits Lupapiste platform, and then we need this Fakta platform to make the real decisions. So we need to transfer the data to different systems to make the actual decision. And Fakta is also this municipal registry of information, and also for handling the construction phases and different checks within that phase. And then we have also Ahjo system, which is used by the other city operations and our permits that go through building control committee. So deeper into the Rava 3 Pro project. This is, some of the parts are already done and some are still on vision stage, and I will tell you more detailed about that. But the basic concept is that the law will demand everything to be in machine readable form or IFC model which the applicant leaves into the service system. And then our aim is to have an integrated IFC checker which will operate automatically, and it will check the model that everything is done like we are doing these property sets and rule sets, which will be generated according to the Building Act and also the RUTI Act, so which is the Built Environment Information System Act. And it will be checked. And the checkpoints are, like I told before, the register data. So it includes address, site codes, and apartment identifications like areas, volumes, features, heating type, if it has balconies, or every data we can collect. And then, of course, the coordinate checking, it has to be done in right way to, so that we can fit it into the city model. And then the properties of buildings, area, volume, room properties, like window sizes, which has the minimum of 10% in Finland, heights, which has also a minimum level, and construction materials, maybe later on when we have this, where we can have the CO2 counted.
Question.
Yes.
Do you use an IFC XML or IDS to check the requirements? Or do you configure something in the system that's checking that?
Do you use something like an IDS or IFC XML or for those properties and structure?
We will use IFC. Maybe Tomi can.
The property requirements are under development at the moment. So we've been studying IDS, but at this point it seems that IDS is not there yet. So in the legislation there is lots of exclusions and exceptions, which are pretty difficult to handle. So we need to figure out something, and this is also a topic that we've been discussing in the regulatory room here in buildingSMART regarding the regulatory information requirements. That how do we handle all these kind of exceptions? The kind of the straightforward thing to check something, that's easy, but then there's always these exceptions, and
Thank you.
Yeah. And we are not accepting us to be like ready after this project, but hopefully we will have another ones to come where we can make it more specific. So, and also the criteria is of course defined by applicable legislation to each building type. So then when the IFC model check is done and it's agreed, or the deviations are being seen, so that's when we discuss are they acceptable, and then we can go forward. And of course, if there's no deviations, we can go forward. And our vision is to have, when the model is accepted, the transmission will be automated also to this built environmental information system as well as city model. So that our vision is that actually the city model is building up automatically in different phases, and you can distinguish the different phases and So it's going to be transparent also to the citizens.
Is it converted to city GML file to be in the city model, or is it as an IFC there?
Where we have to repeat, is it converted automatically from IFC to city GML, something like that? Or?
It's not going to be IFC, but we are having other projects doing the transformation.
The goal is
Okay.
to have automated transformation,
Okay.
but
Yes.
we will see.
Okay. We did some experiments
Yeah.
in The Hague with that.
So, but it will be a huge step as it is done nowadays. So it demands like, again, modeling to the city model, and that's not really clever. Yeah. But then we come to the permit phase. And so other advantages of having the IFC model is also the basic work, like evaluating the cityscape, where we have been examining, making the city model more realistic, so it can be used to evaluate the cityscape. And we have had projects of enriching the city model by drone image material, and we have also run tests in different operating systems or platforms, and it looks really promising. And as the IFC is also having the surface textures in the IFC4 format, so it will be even better, and the manual work will be lesser and lesser. And of course, it's more transparent, and it's enhancing the interaction also with the neighbors, for example, and also the citizens who can see the developments are being made in the city model in real time when it is automated. And we have been also trying this. We have these cave rooms in our building control house. And if there's a tricky question, we can always invite the neighbors into the cave and check the things like more detailed. Yes, and then we come to the construction phase when the building permit is granted. And in that gap, we have also the automated information flow to built environment information system and city model. And you can see it from the city model in real time. And then in the construction phase, the data will be also collected concerning matters as construction work starting. And it will be filled in our e-service platform, and from there it will be forwarded to the RUTI and city model. And other issues are ones like responsible work leader naming, or maybe changes in responsible persons. And then different work phase reviews, like measuring to the place, and geological issues, maybe framework checks, and so on. And then next stage will be introduction to use. And in that point, the new law will demand not only the architectural plans, but also construction or structure plans and HVAC plans in machine readable or IFC models. And also there we have the checks similar as for architectural model being done, and also forwarded to the built environmental information system and city model. So for all these three models, the property sets and entities and use cases are being defined. And then the final stage is when the building is taken to use, maybe the changes or renovation that was taken away from the law, but we still see that it could be part of the law or operations, so that the buildings will stay and the model will be staying updated in the building environment information system. And probably those it will be like the changes which doesn't demand the building permit. And within this new law, the border of building permit is to be raised, so it will be more and more information which will be under the building permit. And then this is our project plan from left to right. So first we are going through the requirements we need in building controls, and by that the checking rules, and then we go through the use cases and do the process development and piloting. We will pilot every use case we have set, so it will work when the system comes to use. And then, not the least, the BIM maturity level in building controls. We are educating all the time, and probably we will get more funding to educating our officials to BIM. So here's our project core team in Helsinki. Anna-Riitta you have met, and also Suvi Välimäki as project coordinator is doing significant work, like coordinating the municipalities and our good consultants through the project. But from my part, kiitos, thank you. And, Tomi will continue from here.
Congratulations with this big achieve. First of all, I have a question about the checking of the building permits. Is it meant to be only an internal checking, or do you also provide checking for the companies who would like to reach to deliver the building permits to you? Can you say something about that?
Yeah, the main idea is that the building control won't check anything. The designers will check. They know our rule sets, so they can check it themselves. And we hope that it will get green light in the automated checking. And if not, we see the points why not, and then we can discuss about them and maybe grant the building permission.
Thank you. I asked this question yesterday in the regulatory commission requirements room, and I'll ask it again. So this implies a sort of shift in practice. I mean, the technology's there, and I think it's great, but with reconfiguring the permitting process, how is that being rethought in light of this project? Two more specific questions: is this going to be getting the authorities having jurisdiction involved earlier? I mean, that's something that we hear a lot. They like to be involved at the beginning, and so having better access, more progressive access to the project. And the second thing is around authentication and digital signatures and responsibilities. How is that being managed through the project?
Good question. I think it will be like making the process shorter. When the designers know what we need and which are the rule sets they have to follow, they don't come with the model that it's not like done by them, and they can check it themselves, and so it will make the process shorter, I think. And as we have the e-service platforms, we already have digital signatures, and we don't need any papers or signatures anymore. Everything's there.
The goal for all the specifications that we are doing is to avoid actually changing the process too much, because there's going to be lots of new things. Yeah, so there will be lots of new things already coming in with the digital things and stuff like that. So we aim not to change the process. Of course, it will change a bit, but not too much.
Yeah, and I think it makes it easier now when the customer has to fill in all the forms in the e-service system. All the data will be collected from the model, so it will make less work for everyone.
Okay, maybe I can answer some of those questions. Should I use the other microphone instead? Yeah. So no, just for my presentation, I was thinking of this next. Okay.
Is that mic? So you're using one?
Yes, of course.
Okay. Yeah. I just wonder who is owning this project? Is it the central government? Is this consortium? How do you have an idea how you can have a stable operating of this system in the future? And then I don't talk the next 2-3 years, but I guess you have a project now. But have you already started thinking of who should run this in the future, so we have also a system in 10 years? Who is the owner?
The owner is the municipalities, and these service systems are private. So the municipalities will buy the operating systems, and all the information is open. So there can be more dealers, so to say, to the operating systems maybe later on. But we only describe the information we need for the building permit process, and then we buy the service.
Okay, you buy the service, but there has to be something central on the government level or the municipality level that buy this. It has to be out on tender, I guess, sometimes.
It is the municipalities. We have, for the other operating system, we have a coalition of municipalities who will get the same tender.
The reason why I'm asking is that in Norway we started to try to have so much out in the private as possible, but we see that the central is growing more and more back because there is that's what's happening. We need to have control over the information flow.
I'm trying to answer at least in some level in my presentation. So maybe a lot more questions will be coming after this. Yeah. So first about me, I'm I'm not sure if I'm a good consultant, but anyway, I'm one of the consultants who've been working with this for this project actually quite long. I'm former chair of buildingSMART Finland. Now I'm leading a couple of projects, use cases. That's another topic. Let's not go there today. But and then I'm also a member of the steering committee in a regulatory room here in buildingSMART International. This is how I see the world. This is how I see the built environment. So for me, the built environment is more data and more information, not so much models. Even though I know that models are the source of data, but I kind of see the world in a similar way as Neo in the Matrix film series. So for me, it's like zeros and ones. A little bit background. So this, of course, the whole change in the legislation and all the things that Aarno was talking about, of course, they didn't happen over one night. So it's been quite a long process, and there are several things behind. So first of all, we have been working in Finland with BIM for 2 decades already. So I was working as an architect from 2004 to 2011 in Helsinki Music Center project, which was one of the first and biggest IFC projects at that time. And for example, in my company Gravikon, we are working as a BIM coordinator. We have been running several hundreds of IFC-based projects just alone in our company. So IFC and open, so BIM in Finland means always IFC or open standards in general. And the kind of IFC is not the new thing. I'm not saying that everybody in the industry knows what IFC is, but they have heard about it. And it's not, most of the designers and consultants in the project, they have already used IFC, probably in a bad way. So, but nevertheless, they know where to find the export to IFC, and that's kind of the first threshold here. So the history of BIM in Finland, it's really much aligned with the history of IFC in general. So we've been kind of adopting the new versions. Finns are really eager to adopt new technology, sometimes a bit too eager. But we've been kind of adopting the new technology as it comes, and I think that we are already past the kind of the mainstream. So we are already kind of like I said. Even in really small municipalities, people have heard about IFC. Maybe they haven't used that yet, but nevertheless, they know it's there. And now the new Building Act will be activated 2025. We have now IFC 4 as our baseline. And I expect that 2030 IFC or BIM, let's say, BIM is dead. By that, I mean that nobody is actually making a big number of BIM. It's just a normal way to do it. And so, for example, most of you have used CAD systems. How often you say that, oh, I'm using CAD? Well, you don't. It's just normal way to work. There's a long transition here, and this is a diagram I took up. This was built 2018. This diagram, this roadmap, the current chair of buildingSMART Finland proposed at that time that the government should put out a roadmap to the digitalization of the built environment, and then we asked from the Ministry of the Environment to give funding for this, and then the buildingSMART Finland was a key operator in putting together this roadmap. And probably can't see that in detail, but I was just showing this to Aarno before the presentations, and we have actually followed really precisely what was written 2018. 2025, it says that a mandatory use of open standards starts. Well, it starts 2025. So we have already forecast this roadmap 2018. There's the educational is there, what Aarno was mentioning. the digital permitting. Basically, or the Ministry of the Environment, to be honest, has been following this roadmap. So good for them. What is substantial here is that information is based on those are the goals, so that information flows smoothly across the whole life cycle. So we are aiming for that. The information, the data systems are interoperable, and then information is based on international standards. And that was a big turning point, 2018, that kind of ministry before that, they were kind of ignoring the international standards. But after this roadmap, they actually kind of changed their attitude. And now basically everything that is done in the legislation, they always kind of go back. They always like check what is the status of international standards. So that has been a big change in the government.
Can you mention one big change because of that? So maybe a classification code system or?
Well, first of all, of course, that IFC. So I think that before this, IFC was not on the list of, it was not so important for the government. But I think that this roadmap was, but also when we come to terms and definitions, in Finland, we have a long history of developing our own things, including terms and definitions. Now, when we talk with about interoperability, the first question is almost always like, okay, how does this relate to international standards? Okay, then some drivers. One of course, this is the big driver here. Why do we digitize things? We need to calculate what is our climate impact, and this is of course not like just a Finnish thing. This is a global thing. How to calculate CO2? We have in European Union, we have directives, we have regulations that we need to do this. We need to have our materials aligned with the databases, and so we have these kind of environmental drivers, and of course the regulations are the way to control that these goals are achieved. Then one of the drivers is data. The amount of data is growing all the time. So there's just a lot of new data coming in. And how do we handle that? The answer is we need to standardize. We need to harmonize both the data, but also the processes, how we handle that. Then obvious issue is resources. The building permit authorities are constantly suffering a lack of resources. There is not enough qualified people. So that's kind of hard fact that in a way, like Aarno was telling, that we need to automate things in order to free some resources to other tasks and to the essential tasks that the building permit authority and building controllers are doing. And then there is also a European interoperability framework requirement. So there's in EU, we have a requirement that all data should be interoperable. And this EIF is an initiative that was put together by EU. And so that's why the whole governmental sector, not only the built environment, but the whole governmental sector in Finland has been building up this interoperability framework and platform. So we are publishing terms and definitions, our data models, our codes, everything is published in this platform. And it's some of the terms and some of the data models are also translated to English. Okay, those are the kind of the background. Then how did we do it? implementation. Of course, we have the kind of the big picture, the vision and the objectives. So already mentioned several times that our automated regulatory processes, we are moving from the traditional workflow towards the BIM-based workflow. All the data should be in digital in a granular form. The key processes should be automated. Also, the city plans should be included in this. For that, we don't have that good standards as we have for buildings. So IFC is not valid for city-based city plans, but there's a development on that field as well. And then, of course, this flow of data seamlessly between different systems. We have today. There's a big problem. There's a big challenge, let's say, that we have lots of different registries like taxation, the digital registry for built environment. We have several different registries, and the municipalities, they have to exchange data. And typically, or let's say many times, the exchange is done manually using data dumps. Of course, it's probably in electronic form, so it's not like typing in the data manually. But it's by manually, I mean that you have you have to make a data dump. You need to export a CSV file or something like that, and then import that to another system. Of course, that's not the data is not up to date, and many times the data is the same. Piece of data is different in these different systems. So how to integrate these different registries and systems, that's one of the goals. Like Aarno told, we are already using the digital permitting. So very basically the starting point is we have a good penetration there. I think that 98 or 99% of all building permits in Finland, I mean all building permits in Finland, are already done using digital documents, PDFs basically, and using these digital web-based platforms. The next step would be the digital models, the IFC coming in. Then again, moving forward to automated checks, and also the automated flow of data between different systems and registries. And then the final kind of goal is to integrate processes with industry processes. Because, for example, in the construction side does inspections. They are inspecting that how much air there is in certain room, what is the sound insulation between different two apartments, and so on. So they are making these on-site inspections during the construction. Now the goal is to the building control is basically doing the similar inspections, and this is one of the goals, that we actually integrate these so that you do it just once, and that can be reused by different parties. The same diagram that Aarno was showing earlier. What I wanted to explain in here, that it's not all these costs. We need money for this. So the government has put now. There was a project called Ryhti, which is basically still running, but this is a project for 20 million euros. It includes the interoperability work. It includes the kind of the technical work for the legislation. It also includes some parts of the work that the municipalities are doing, even though you are getting a little bit extra funding from the Ministry of Finances. But I think that the biggest money goes to we are developing now, or ministry is funding a development of a national registry for built environment, which is based on data models such as IFC, but also other. It's a place where you collect all the kind of decisions, information about processes, building permitting, and so it's not just model data which is put there. I think it's mostly something else than models. But anyway, and the timeline is that the first electronic building permit platform started 2015. 25, we have the new legislation activated, and then there's a certain period, and by 2027, this national building information system, the registry should be fully operational. There are several actors in this, of course, as mentioned many times. But we have the Ministry of the Environment, who is responsible for the legislation. They are also responsible for the registry for built assets, which I explained. And they are also responsible for the digital interoperability of the built environment. Then we have municipalities, and what Aarno was explaining, all the kind of the requirements for building control, of course, doing the building control. And then if I'm just looking from the IFC point of view, also they are responsible for the short-term storage of digital assets, such as IFC models. Then we have National Archives, which is setting the rules for digital archives. And they are responsible for long-term archiving of digital assets, as well as non-digital, but nowadays basically everything needs to be in digital form. And then, of course, last but not least, the industry. Industry plays an important role because the industry is actually producing the information. So the industry needs to be there as well. But the industry has been also active in this. Like I said, I've been working as a consultant for the ministry, and so there, we as an industry, we play an important role, and also giving the practical terms that what can be achieved, because sometimes people in the ministry have quite high hopes. But we are the ones who are actually doing the things, and we are creating the content, so we play an important role in this. Then I've been asked many times that when we published that, okay, the IFC will be a mandatory format in Finland for building permits, and not only for building permits, but also for as-built models. And this is something which is okay. I will come back to that, but yeah, I've been asked where can I find the information? Where is the regulation for that? And the answer is nowhere. And I will explain how this works. So we have the Building Act. This is that's the legislation for the whole built environment, basically. In the Building Act, it says that the project shall deliver to the control authority a three-dimensional model, a data model, in machine-readable form for the building permit, and at the end of the project as an as-built model.
So it can be also something else in IFC.
Yes, but yeah, it could, but no. Then we have Act of Public Administration Data Management. So this is another piece of legislation which specifies that all data managed by a public authority has to be archived, both short-term archiving but long-term archiving also. Then we have Archives Act, which specifies that who is the authority that controls the forms, the formats. And in the Archives Act, it says that the National Archives of Finland is an authority that declares the official archiving formats. And finally, we have the National Archives, which made a decision in October that IFC 4.0.2.1 is an official archive. So these things. So. So when you put these parts of the puzzle together, it means that IFC 4.0.2.1 is the official format for building permits, because the municipalities only accept formats that they can archive, because they have they need to archive everything. And then so it's a bit complicated thing. But the beauty of this thing is that it gives us a little bit flexibility, because as you know, changing laws is always tedious work, and it's a political thing. So changing the Building Act it took 5 years. Well, these maybe the secondary legislation is a bit easier, but still it's political things. But now when IFC 4.3 comes out, hopefully later this year, as an official ISO format, then we can go back to the National Archives and say that, okay, now the ISO has accepted IFC 4.3 as an official format. Can you please declare that as an archiving format as well? David.
Yeah, just you might answer it. So technically, in the laws here or the act, is it they're referring to the EN ISO version or the IFC buildingSMART? We know there is the same standard. Yeah, ISO. They use ISO.
Yeah.
Yes. Questions?
Then we have, because the Building Act is kind of umbrella legislation. And like I said, it just says that you have to provide the model in three-dimensional, the model format should be three-dimensional data model in machine-readable form. So it's really kind of overall vague. But then we have secondary legislation, which is kind of supplement to the actual Building Act, which specifies a little bit in more detail that what is needed. So at the moment, the ministry is working with the secondary legislation for the design models and for as-built models, specifying that what is the not in detail, but let's say we have a legislation saying that what kind of drawings and what are the drawings for building permits, basically what needs to be presented in the drawings. So now we are doing the same for BIM models. The thing which is really interesting is the as-built models, because so far today the building control only takes in the building permit material, so PDFs, basically drawings today, and IFC in the future. But the new Building Act says that starting from 2025, you need to also deliver the as-built model. And this as-built model includes all the materials and products used in the construction. Don't ask me yet what it is, but but that is like I said earlier, that we are trying to avoid to change the process too much, and I think that for building permit we can achieve that, but because this is totally new thing, the as-built model, so that will be like the building permit, IFC in building permits, that's just the tip of the iceberg. And below the surface, we have a big boogie waiting for us. That what is the as-built model? Well, we have some ideas what it is, but it's still, let's say, under construction. Then we have, of course, the secondary legislation for low carbon construction, which specifies that what kind of other information we need to provide for the building permits. And this is connected to the materials and products. And then we have a secondary legislation for material report and environmental impacts. They are a little bit same things, but they have a little bit different angle. But those are kind of the three pieces of legislation that we have done by the ministry. And then we have Aarno's work, the building control authorities. They actually make the requirements that what is the actual, what are the properties and property sets that they want in the IFC models, because they are aiming for the automated code checking, and this is their role. It's both the requirements for the models for the architects, engineers, but also requirements for the rules for the automated code checking. So it's everything needs to be in an open format. So basically, any system which is capable of doing the code checking can utilize these rules. And before you ask, we have a challenge there because there is no standard language that we can describe these codes or these rules. So that is a challenge. There are several like research projects running in Europe at the moment, which that are investigating this and studying this. So hopefully we will have this, but this is kind of a gray area, and we need to work on that. But we need to start from something, so we are using proprietary systems and software like Solibri for this, so that we kind of get the proof of concept level done. Then about BIM requirements, how we have done this. So we have I have described that we have two kind of angles for this. So we have the technical angle, where and how the information is stored, and then the process angle, how is the information used and what information is needed. For this technical angle, we have the terms and definitions, the data structure, and format and location of the data. And by this I mean kind of, for example, which property sets you use, which kind of codes you are using. So we try to harmonize also something like fire codes and stuff like that. When I say we try to harmonize the fire codes, of course the fire codes, for example, is a European. We have already a mechanism that, but there's a significant difference for computer. That is the fire code written in EI space 60 or EI without the space and 60. For computer, those are two different things. So we have to agree in really detailed level about these codes. For the how is the information used and what the information is needed, we have, of course, frameworks, guidelines, and use cases. For use cases, I could talk the whole day, but I will just touch that subject briefly a bit later. But of course, these are all coming from standards. So we have for terms and definitions, we have the ISO standards, of course, national vocabularies as well. For data structure, we have, of course, IFC. That's the only game in the downtown. And then for the location, and like I said, we are using property sets, IFC standard property sets, but also utilizing technologies such as PSDD and IDS to specify these things. And then for the process part, we have 19650. That's the mother of all BIM standards. And then ISO 7817, which is the level of information need. Actually, it's not there yet because it's under development, but it's an existing European standard 17412, part 1. Then ISO 12911 is a guidance. It's a standard for building up BIM guidance, guideline documents. And then we have the ISO 2941, which is the IDM standard. And a few words about this later on. Then the methodology. Basically, the methodology here is based on IDM. So we are using the IDM kind of concept or the method to describe these things. So we start with our use cases, defining the purposes, how we are using the data, what is the kind of needed data. So then we, from the use cases, we come up with the needed information. Then we map that to IFC, and then after that we can create the exchange requirements. And for the use cases, now we have selected together with building permit authorities in this project that Aarno was explaining us earlier. We have now selected 4+1 use cases. So we have the fire safety, operational safety, acoustical requirements, and accessibility as kind of those are the 4 use cases, and then the IFC to city model as a +1. That's a little bit different use case, but nevertheless a use case it is. The information about the information. So we have studied the legislation, especially the secondary legislation, which has a bit more detailed information that, for example, fire regulations or sound insulation regulations. So we have walked through these secondary legislations clause by clause, finding out that how it could be turned into machine readable or in the form that the machine understands it. Many times impossible, but and the problem is, of course, that no, Nick, you can come back to this. But the problem and the challenge is that they are including lots of exclusions and exceptions, which make things really hard. And then analyzing that how IFC can kind of support this. To some extent, it can do that quite well. For example, for the architectural model, and in Finland, the building permit is always done only using the architectural designs, and MEP and structural designs, they are supplement, which is so the building control authority is actually not kind of approving. You are just kind of, we want to see them. If they look good, you can start building. But basically, the building permit is given using the architectural designs. Infrastructure is excluded. We are only talking about buildings. Yeah.
But does the architect also models the structural design?
No, in Finland, it's a specified domain. It's a structure engineer. So
yeah,
it's,
but if you only check the architectural model, you don't see the construction model, right?
No. We see the constructional plans. We get them in, but we don't accept them. So the responsibility is on the constructional engineer.
Yeah.
You take the responsibility for the architectural then over.
No.
The responsibility is always on designers.
Yeah. But this is actually a very important thing to understand, that in Finland, the building control authority does not have any responsibility. Well, except that it has a responsibility to check the qualification of the designers. So that is one of the most important things. Well, maybe you are doing something more, but by the law, it's actually like that.
It sounds quite light, but that's the main point. We see that the designers are qualified, and we trust them to handle the work, and we do only the point checks.
Yeah.
What about new projects, reconstructions?
Everything. Everything.
What about you have existing buildings?
Yes.
You have to
Everything.
transform it into BIM.
Everything.
So there is no minimum project size.
Well, of course, we are trying to be reasonable. So there will be exclusions, of course. So if you have maybe you have a problem in a basement and you need to change something there, and then probably you do something that you need a building permit. It doesn't make sense that you have to you make an IFC model for the whole building, or so that probably will be excluded. Or you have a renovation in the elevation only, that you're only renovating the shell of the building, so the exterior parts. You don't have to build an IFC model for the whole building. You can only model the exterior parts. So we will have these kind of exclusions. But basically, the legislation and the secondary legislation will not give too many exclusions. There will be some exclusions, and probably in the beginning a bit more, and then it will tighten up later on. Yeah.
Piotr from buildingSMART Poland. And also I'm in European project checks related to the building permit. So I have a question. Do you have any list of the checks that you make in these tools, or do you have like a lessons learned? What are the basic important checks that should be done in this platform that rest of the countries could follow you? And the second question is, because I don't know if I understood well, but do you have any possibility to make a check between the BIM and GIS, for example, where the building and BIM model is located on the ground, and for example, what is the distance to the border? Because I have real example that, for example, in Warsaw, the construction site stopped in the center of Warsaw, maybe not in the center, but very near the center. And I think that already there are built 7 or 8 floors. So because someone realized that the building is too close to the border. So it was for me very, very surprising that these simple things are not under control. So I would be very interested if you have the list of the checks that you think that should be followed by the rest of the countries, and this BIM and GIS integration, because there's a lot of discussion about that. But
the last question is easier. The answer is no. And the reason is that the city plans are not in a machine-readable format. So there is no kind of a common format to kind of, and so we can't do that test, basically. The goal is to do that. So I'm not a city planning specialist, but I know that the people are working for this. So that is kind of the overall goal.
Maybe for that question also, we are going to have a checker that checks the coordinates, that the model is built in right place. And of course, after or in the building permission phase, there's the city's measurement unit who measures the building to the site. So it will be like double checked.
And for the first part of your question, we are now we've been doing the specifications, and we are now kind of closing the piloting phase. So I would say that maybe in 6 months we can maybe have a better answer to your question. So that what goals are achieved. We are not the only ones in doing this. So, for example, Estonia is quite far with this, and I think that Jan and his team could give a lot better answer already at this stage for this. So yeah.
Okay, this is David Fung from Hong Kong. I see some of your slides you just mentioned. There are still drawings, which is in PDF format, plus the model as a submission. Now that raises a very interesting question. And what do you mean by the drawings in PDF? Now to an extreme, may I ask a very silly questions? What if I were an architect who do a submission and do my drawings in CAD, but I still have an IFC model to submit it? And then bring us the question, and in terms of approval, will you be how can you ensure that the drawing in PDF is the same as a model? And when you say you issue a permit, is this based on the model to have the permit, or still based on the drawings to have a permit?
That's a tricky question, and we have noticed also that there could be a problem which has to be solved in some point. But we still will have like the PDF main drawings and the IFC model, and they, in principle, they have to be the same thing. Pekka.
Can he ask a question or?
Pekka. So here's Pekka Virkamäki. He's from the Ministry of the Environment, so he's kind of checking that we are not talking silly things here.
Yes, I don't want to correct anything, but anyway, we have in the legislation is so that you bring the PDFs and you bring the model. If there is the model doesn't be the same than the PDFs, then the PDFs will be decisive. So that at this first stage, and when they spoke about that the building control has no responsibilities at all, so that in Finland the building control is responsible to kind of survey the building processes according to the public interest, so that the public interest is the kind of, and that is what we are responsible, for example, so that the project fulfills the environmental demands. We have to survey them, and also we have to see that it fits in the city plan. If there is deviations of the city plan, we have to take, even though the designer would have kind of noticed us that there is deviation. So we have to notice them. Thank you.
I mentioned this, I'm going back to my slides. I said this part of the secondary legislation for design and as-built models, Pekka is responsible for that. So if you have further questions about that, you can later go to Pekka. Okay, just to wrap it up, my final thing. So from when we have analyzed, we've been analyzing the IFC and the needed information and also the needed checks that we need to do. Then finally we need to do the hard work, which is to kind of specify the geometry properties and the harmonized data contents and also documenting and recording all these. So that will be a lot of work, but it's already under development, so it should be done. But yeah, so yeah, a lot of paper. Okay, to summarize, the goals for this is that we have everything in digital format. The content of the IFC and data models in general are harmonized. The processes are both automated and later on also integrated. So thanks, that's for me. But we can continue with the questions. Nick.
Hi. I'm not allowed to say things in the regulatory room because I'm meant to lead it. But in this room, I'd like to mention ISO 12911, which is probably the ISO standard you haven't heard of before. Because what it does is say, give a method for capturing rules and requirements. And you can do it for systematically, and you can then convert that to any rule system you want to use. And in the UK, we had a project called DCOM, Digital Compliance, And in 3 months, we digitized and automated the English and Welsh building regulations. And there was fewer than 100 lines of computer code needed to do it. So we do have the technologies to be systematic about rules and regulations and requirements as the IFC is about documenting solutions. So I think we have to plan for taking the words in the regulations seriously and then automating them. And that is the way that we will have a dynamic system, because certainly in the UK, regulations change every 3 years, or a particular regulation will be superseded every 2 or 4 years, roughly. So we have to think of this as a dynamic system that's maintained. And that's the question I would like to put is, how will this system be maintained with all the changes in legislation that are going through year on year?
Maybe Pekka has an answer. Well, the things, first of all, the things that we are doing at the moment, I guess that we are aiming to the parts of the legislation and the parts of the requirements that are more static, which are not changing every year. In general, the legislation in Finland is not moving. It's not like a moving target in a way that it's in UK. There is kind of some adjustments done, of course, if needed, but I would, in general, the fire regulations are from '95, and they have been updated a couple of times after that, but they are kind of minor things. So there is kind of it was 98 maybe, but anyway, the legislation in Finland it's quite static in a way. Sometimes you can say that too static, but
are they machine readable, those requirements?
No.
Not yet.
Pekka has a dream that we will have a machine readable legislation, but probably he will retire before that.
Yes, I think when we are renewing our building code, I think in the future, maybe in the end of this decade, we can make maybe a political decision that all the new kind of building code rules must be machine readable, or they are checked if they are machine readable. Some kind of rules are not machine readable. You have to have if it's aesthetic or something like that. But it should be in the future, so that also EU rules should be machine readable, so that they are not interpreted in every country in different ways. Thank you.
And we have some good examples. For example, the taxation laws are already in machine readable form, so it's not doable, totally undoable, but yeah, it's a challenge, I guess. Any other questions? Yes. Oh, there is a question at the back.
Yeah, I have a bit controversial question actually, because we talk a lot about data. We are growing in data. We have more and more of it. And then there is the question of environment. I mean, data impacts environment and actually not in positive way. Do we have any plans, like how we deal with the storage of data, how we can minimize it so we have only what we need? Yeah.
What do you need?
I think instead of a file transfer, a data transfer. That's what you mean?
The problem is that we don't know what we need. Well, you might know it right now, but do you know what you need in 10 years? So, yeah, I understand that the data storage, it has an environmental impact, but then you have to estimate, is that impact smaller than not having the data? So yeah, it's a tricky question, I know, but
I think the impact will be smaller when we have less systems like we have now in Helsinki 3. So if there was only 2, it must be a smaller impact.
And then if we don't like move the data or copy the data from one system to another, but instead have like APIs so that systems can actually talk to each other and just take the data when they actually need that data. So that could be that's one of the objectives.
If you think about what data we need, we are now collecting all kind of designs, the architectural, MIP, and constructional design. Who needs then after 30 years? And also knowledge about materials, the owner. He has already lost his native format and he cannot open them. So that and there can be some kind of not very good owners in the middle. And then when there comes to renovation, you need all the designs and all the things of the materials. It helps you then to design the renovation.
There was a question here.
Thank you. Edo Deschke, Vice Chairman, buildingSMART Germany. I was wondering about the relatively small amount of use cases you had on the slide. When I think of German regulations, there are a lot of things coming into my mind which are regulated in building permit processes, like accessibility for handicapped people, places to park cars or bicycles, forms of roofs, etc. So there's no need for these kind of use cases in your process, or how can I understand this?
Yeah, there is more. Those were only the examples. So we have more, but we won't cover it all at once. So
Yeah.
that we know already.
Yeah. So that was kind of the starting point, and kind of the ideology here is or behind is that we shouldn't put the bar too high. We are putting the bar a little bit higher that can be achieved today. There will be a lot of cry and anger, but still people can achieve that because it's just like 5 centimeters higher that I can actually jump. And then when I really push, maybe I can do that 5 centimeters. But if I would push the bar like to the roof, everybody, oh, not possible. I'm not going to do that. And so that is kind of also the part of the methodology is to kind of move in small steps, in the steps that are almost achievable. And in Finland, we know that if it's almost achievable, then it will be achieved.
Yeah, and the situation is getting better when we have now only point checks. So then we can rely on that those checks we achieve now are being done and concentrate to something else.
Yeah, thank you. You said you were aware of some other activities in Europe or some research. Is what you did anyway related to digichecks, where they are automating the permitting process for across, or if you do sort of inter-country projects?
Well, the Ministry of Environment is involved in a project called Accord. Probably you know this. And this is, of course, one of the work packages is done in Finland by VTT. So this is maybe the closest point. But in the regulatory room, we have been in contact with other projects as well. So and that's kind of also for us. Well, maybe as I said, I'm a member of the steering committee in regulatory room, and I'm also leading a project called Regulatory Information Requirements here in buildingSMART. So I've been trying to build a link between these different initiatives in Finland, of course. I'm piloting the ideas that we are having here in the regulatory room. So the Finland is kind of a laboratory. Hopefully we don't fail. We won't. But yeah, but I think that's like I explained, that's part of the governmental strategy to be internationally active and to see, not to invent the things internally in Finland, but to look what are the solutions already available, what are the standards already available.
Do you have some sort of overview of what organizations or what groups of people are working on this?
Maybe.
in your head?
Anna-Riitta maybe has some.
Yeah, I think Anna-Riitta has the best view, but the Accord is I think at the moment leading.
Yeah. Maybe just to add, because I'm also in the Accord project. You're in the steering committee of the Accord project, but I know there's also contact between Accord Czech and DigiChecks on a higher level. So they're trying to work together. So I think they're working on it.
Okay, we have spent our 1.5 hours. Øyvind has the final word, I guess.
We had already some questions, but no, just kidding.
No, just because it seems to me that there has been done quite a good work on the legal technical side in Finland here to make this happen. Do you plan to share this a little bit, at least on the Nordic level? Because I know there is a forum on the Nordic building authorities on minister level. So it has been interesting if you can share this information, how you actually, the goal with it, of course, but exactly how do you do this in the technicality in the laws? I think that is been a good idea to try to share this, because you have done some good work here, I think.
Yeah, I think that the overall idea is to be quite open, also internationally, and share our experiences, because at the end of the day, it benefits us if more countries adopt the similar things, because we are a small country, and if we go to software vendors saying that, okay, we want this and we want that to IFC so that it works better for us, they are not listening. But if we are a group of countries, if there are similar initiatives in different places, then the software vendors have to listen. So that's why we have to be open. And I think that Estonia has been kind of in that sense, kind of a motivation for us, because you've been always kind of open to this and preaching those things. So we are trying to group together with different parties. And
Can I have one question to the audience? In which country are they busy with this kind of topic too? So that's quite a lot. So.
Actually, I have to add to Tomi's that we are open. We are making like open questionnaire of each set we are making. So all the designers and whoever can have critiques or questions.
Okay, thank you.